Okay, so I kind of want to have a serious conversation about Jim Harbaugh's Michigan and whether or not he's right to believe they're on the brink of a national championship and all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk a bit about Jim Harbaugh's Michigan and his take that they're kind of right there on the cusp of a national championship. This after they haven't managed to make it out of the Big Ten East as the representative in the Big Ten championship game in his time as head coach at Michigan, and he's getting paid $7 million to not beat Ohio State. And that's kind of where this story starts, right? He's 0-5 in that time period, or Michigan is 0-5, right? And they've given up a bunch of points, and they've been outscored 95 points in those 5 losses that they've had. And then you take into account that Ohio State is 61-7 over the last 5 years. Meanwhile, it's not that Michigan's been bad, right? They're 46-9 in conference play, but if you look at the final 2 games, they're 1-9 over the last, 5 years. And yet we're talking about a Michigan team that was pretty good defensively with Don Brown, even as they ran a 3-high safety look against Army that I didn't really get, but worked well enough for them to win the football game. They had outstanding showings against the Notre Dame team that looked good, played in the Camping World Bowl, and should be in contention for a college football playoff spot this year. They really just can't get past Ohio State, and that's really where the story begins and ends for Michigan fans and for Ohio State fans for that matter, because that game matters in a way that, quite honestly, many other college football games just don't. And we're talking about rivalries. Like, you can really talk about OU Texas, you can talk about Bedlam, you can talk about the Iron Bowl, you can even talk about Florida State. Doesn't really matter that much as Michigan and Ohio State. And now lately, it's mattered a little bit more because Ohio State has basically used it as a launching pad into the Big Ten championship game and the college football playoff. Now, knowing what Ryan Day and Ohio State are probably going to be in 2020, I'm not prepared to say that Michigan's going to be able to do much of anything. But when you look at the change he made at offensive coordinator a year ago with Josh Gattis, modernizing the offense, basically doing what we all hope Kirby Smart does this year, bringing in Josh Gattis, and you think about Joe Milton and or Dylan McCaffrey and what they could mean, and you get Ronnie Bell back. You lost Tarek Black, but, look, I think they'll be able to move the ball a little bit. But it's the defense that could take steps forward because Dax Hill's going to be a star if he isn't already to many of you. He's their rookie of the year, and I think he has an outside shot to be an All-American this year. He's that good. But as we look at the title odds, Bovada and the sportsbook, Las Vegas sportsbook, have them 40-1 as their chance of winning a national championship. That's worse than Oklahoma. And Oklahoma, right, while being better than Michigan, isn't my pick to win the national championship. It's not a hot take. As a matter of fact, the 247 Sports composite 247 Sports national rankings came out, preseason rankings came out on Tuesday, and they got Oklahoma at number 7. And I get that. Redshirt freshman Spencer Rattler hasn't shown anybody much of anything yet. He's 11 passes. That said, he's getting better Heisman odds than Sam Ehlinger, and that still just makes me so... I don't know what to do with that knowledge. It just makes me happy because it really is a flex for Lincoln Riley. And that's kind of where it is for Jim Harbaugh right now, because as he continues to talk about issues for which we really don't care to hear him talk, except when he does kind of get this Black Lives Matter thing right in a time when Dabo Swinney has gotten it horrendously wrong and Kirk Ferentz has not done much better, you want to give him credit. But then he's had stupid things to say about the virus, and he's had stupid things to say about pro-life versus pro-choice, and it's just really been a bad look for him. While I think he's kind of an interloper, I just don't trust him, and I don't trust him to get this right. However, when we're talking about teams that could win a national championship, they are kind of right there, because if they do manage to get past Ohio State, they're probably going to be the Big Ten representative, and I would expect 3 to 4 teams really 3 teams in the Big Ten East to win the conference championship before I would expect a Wisconsin or Minnesota or Iowa or certainly Nebraska to be there, because I think that Penn State is also right there with Michigan. If they can get wins against Ohio State and Michigan, they probably win the Big Ten East. They probably win the Big Ten. And of course, Ohio State is that third team. I'm not really in a position right now to count them completely out, but I'm certainly in the camp of putting money against them winning a national championship because, one, even if they got past Ohio State and they won the Big Ten championship against a Minnesota or Wisconsin or Iowa, I don't see them beating Clemson or Alabama or Oklahoma for that matter, where they might have the best shot, certainly not at Georgia. And if it's Oregon, I still don't think they could get past them because I think Oregon's defense is better than Don Brown's defense, and that's the calling card of Michigan so far. And then when we talk about what the recruiting has been like, yeah, they're going to need some kids to have to step up and step up in a tremendously big way for us to really continue to talk about them as being in this conversation. But right now, Notre Dame has a better chance to win the national championship than Michigan, if for no other reason than they have proven that they can make the college football playoff. Jim Harbaugh is making a lot of money not to do much of anything, and yet we're still talking about him. And we're talking about him because we talk about Texas. And we talk about those two teams because they have lots of money, lots of fans, and everybody would like to see them do well. But like, I would like to see Nebraska and Arkansas do well, but I'm not out here saying they're going to win national championships either. Even as one of those teams is much better than the other one. And that's saying a lot because Arkansas's trash, right? But I understand if you are in the camp of Michigan being right there on the cusp, you'll agree with Jim Harbaugh when he says, yeah, it makes us mad that we don't win against Ohio State. I know people are mad about it. It makes us mad too. I mean, they're the only team in the Big Ten we have yet to beat. And he's right about that. And we got to beat them. That's what we have to do. And that's that. And that's where we're at. And that's what motivates us. That's what gets us into high drive. And that's the work we're about to have to do every day. The one problem that we do have with this, and all due respect to Ohio State fans that watch this channel, he's treating beating Ohio State as if it is winning a national championship, and Clemson will be the first people to tell you that ain't so. So again, even if you beat Ohio State, for which I don't think that you will, but if you did, you still got to win 2 more games against teams that are ostensibly on par or even better than an Ohio State football team that has beat you like you stole something, stomped a mud hole, and walked you dry in the past 2 years, putting up like all the points in the last 2 years against you, both in the big house and at the shoe. I don't see this getting any better for you. But you know what? Shout out to Jim Harbaugh, who is trying to gas himself up, because that's what you do when everybody is against you. You gas yourself up and you augment reality in your head, but reality today says Buckeye's going to smash over you again. I don't care about you taking a mallet and smashing a Buckeye over Coach Schembechler's grave, which was both sacrilegious and stupid. But you know what? Jim Harbaugh, everybody. All right, that's it for me. Doses.